The narrative of thriving early childhood communities is one that needs to be told. Families and children's returning to cherished spaces after closures or restrictions on the spaces. So some children attending care and other children needing to stay home, and then being able to reopen and return to those spaces, and what that means. When we reopened here, noticing, if I'll use the word magic and joy of the children returning and seeing their educators and seeing their peers and reuniting after this time away, that's a beautiful story. That speaks to what we do. And that is a wonderful narrative that should be shared out with everyone. I think for me, seeing that outweighed a bit of the fear. That outweighed the fear of, can I do this safely? Am I going to be able to operate this program to keep every single person in here as safe as I am possibly capable of doing, during this pandemic? And that helped me. It helped me to watch these connections being remade in our program, and I'm very grateful for that. Our job is in early learning is to ensure safety always. It's not our only job, but it's a major part of our job. And in this pandemic, it's posed new challenges for educators on how to do that. And the stress and the worry and the compliance that sits on educators' shoulders is so heavy right now. But I think if we're able to hold it high enough, right, as adults in these programs, if we're able to hold that high enough, then we can also look and view and embrace the joy that is play and community. And that's the narrative that's also unfolding alongside of this. And I'm grateful that I get to see that every day in our program, watching children continue to play, even though everything else is going on around them. But again, I think it speaks to the level of work that ECEs are doing in the field to hold that worry for them during this time when they're in this space, right? And it's beautiful to see, and it sounds like all of these programs who are speaking, there's bits of that in everything you're saying today. So it makes me hopeful.
Yeah, the power of the relationships and being together in community. Thank you. And Daniel.
You know, with all the shifts in political politics and political politics in national politics, it's really easy to pay attention to what's going on in Ottawa right now. But for me, what I've really been noticing and paying attention to is everything that's been happening in local governments. And I think that's one of the places that we have to, even knowing we're coming together in this conference across the country right now, we also all have to pay attention to what's happening locally. So like here in BC, we just had a provincial election. And for the first time in my life, all three major political parties had a different plan for universal childcare in our province. And my jaw just dropped, right? Like, you always sort of expect the left-wing parties will do one and the right-wing parties will say that's too expensive. And I think the pandemic has made it so it might actually happen no matter what in this province, which just overjoys me. But then I also look at what's happening municipally. And the municipal government here in Vancouver has passed a rule that all new elementary schools that get built have to have childcares built right into them. And so I was recently able to visit one, and it was amazing. You had this elementary school, and on top, there was a daycare that had that connection directly to the kindergartens, and there was an infant care. And so I just really keep going back, like, you know, our Constitution is a funny thing, but a lot of the sort of power that goes with childcare, healthcare, education, it's all a provincial responsibility. And I think if we want to affect things nationally, we also have to continually push our local governments, because I think it's going to go sort of grassroots up rather than from the top down. So, you know, I think to make a national change. We just keep pushing provincially, and we keep pushing in our cities to see that change.